Okay, we'll start the webinar.
Yep.
Welcome to the webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are, guys. Good morning and welcome to today's webinar around cloud computing. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. We have taken a screenshot of an example of the attendee interface as shown on this slide. You should see something that looks like this on your own computer desktop in the upper right corner. If it is hidden, you can press that little small arrow pointing out, red arrow, it will open up this small thing. If you're listening in by default, you will be listening in computer speaker system by default. If you would prefer to join over the phone, just select telephone in the audio pane and the dialed information will be displayed. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenter by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel, as you can see on the screen. You may send in your questions any point of the time during the presentation. However, we'll collect all the questions and address them during the question and answer section at the end of today's presentation. I would now like to introduce about Techwave before we move into the webinar. So here we have, today we have Chandra, who is the practice head, who will be our speaker. He heads the cloud and remote infrastructure management. And myself, I'll be the moderator and the director of marketing at Techwave. I would like to go over a little bit of the Techwave and who we are. Techwave is a global end-to-end IT services and solutions provider. We are headquartered in Exton, USA. We have local presence all over all the regions across the globe, like APAC, Europe. We have a strong presence in Europe, Middle East, as well as in South Africa. We have a large global delivery center in Hyderabad, India, and we are also one of the top ranking, fastest growing companies featured in a lot of the magazines like Forbes and Inc. 500, also Business Journal. And with that, I would like to hand it over to our presenter, Chandra Rao. He'll introduce about himself, and then we'll go from there. Chandra, over to you.
Yep. Thank you very much, Raj. It's my pleasure to present over this webinar, and thanks everybody for joining this webinar. So I'm Chandra Rao, and I head the practice of cloud and remote infrastructure management services at Techwave. And I got an opportunity to work with some of the Fortune 500 companies, including IBM. I have put up about 20 years of experience, which is largely from an infrastructure management services point of view. I link back to my good old mainframe days. So that's where I believe that the concept of cloud has started, with multiple virtual storage, system those days, right? And coming to the modern cloud generation, I've got an opportunity to work with SoftLayer, AWS, Rackspace, and Microsoft Azure from the cloud service provider's point of view. I got some opportunity to build greenfield clouds, hosting ERP and other major workloads apart from the regular business applications, and a couple of migrations, from legacy to the modern cloud too. With that, we'll proceed onto today's webinar, and the topic is largely from a new innovative solution. I think some of the corporates have tried it out, thought I would create some awareness towards it. So I'll quickly start with, in the interest of some of the participants who would like to know about cloud in general. I mean, pardon me if I'm using very basic definitions or the jargons or technical stuff on in and around cloud, as a topic. As I told you, linking back to my mainframe days and coming to the virtualized and orchestrated clouds today. And after that, I would slightly highlight why an organization would, if at all, embraces cloud, and why they should go for only private cloud, and how would it benefit if they go for a private cloud and building that on a public cloud. So that would be the point. It should be a short discussion item. And for any questions, as the moderator Raj said, that you can always post the questions, and within the webinar time or after the webinar time also, I'm happy to answer that. So technically speaking, when we talk about internet, any technical guy will say that it is network of networks, and that's where people can access the information through the internet. For the cloud also, I would like to give the same definition, is a couple of or some of data centers interconnected and largely virtualized, and I should say modernly orchestrated, so that the compute, memory, and storage resources, right, can be provided to the users or organizations, for that matter, in various forms, and it'll also help the users to consume and pay as they use, right, and with higher availability, higher scalability, and flexibility, right, with the other factors. So that is the definition where I think and believe the cloud is, right. While there are numerous definitions in and around, but net technically speaking, it's an interconnected data center, largely virtualized and properly orchestrated. When I said orchestrated, using a cloud operating system on top of the virtualization, whatever you do, and create them so that each and every organization or users, for that matter, can get the benefit out of it. So cloud is largely segregated in three different models: the private, public, and hybrid, based upon the usage and how the corporates are embracing it. Private cloud, as the name says, largely which is dedicated to one particular organization and services delivering from one particular data center for their convenience, security, control, and other factors, maybe because from the domain point of view or their vertical point of view or the business point of view. Number two, going to the public cloud, which is available for all the users across the internet. They can get the services on demand and increase or decrease, or they can utilize the cloud services. When I say cloud services, largely from the compute, memory, storage, and other resources. The next model is hybrid cloud, where if at all any particular organization is planning to have the relevant workloads on public cloud, as well as having their own premises, in their premises if they have a private cloud, the combination of that is largely getting onto a hybrid model, right? And the cloud service categories are again categorized into three, which everyone knows by now. It is infrastructure as a service, where the infrastructure related resources are provided on demand to the users, organizations, etc., so that they should be bothering about their application, their database, and their business. The second service category is platform as a service, where from the cloud they have an opportunity or the convenience of using the platforms like your .NET framework where you can build, or sometimes an operating system along with the database and appropriate framework where I can straight away code and deploy my application and go ahead, right? Software as a service, which is well known and which is there from almost a decade or more, where the mail services have kicked off initially using software as a service, your Gmails, now Office 365, etc., etc., Salesforce for the CRM usage, and other what you call business applications which are available now. Almost all the applications or products which are available now are, industries are trying to push them as software as a service. That's more or less about cloud in general. We'll get on to the some other benefits why people should get onto cloud and what are the main benefits. While there are many benefits, but largely focusing on it'll help the users to self-service themselves. They can provision whatever servers they require, whatever platform they require, and do customize accordingly. And elasticity, the kind of scalable stuff where they can increase, decrease the computing needs, scaling up, scaling down based upon demands. For any corporate, the month end would be a pressurous stuff where number of transactions might be more. There you can always go for a increase of resources so that your applications are facilitating the users or customers, the end users properly. And pay-per-use, which will have cut down the capex stuff and getting on to only OPEX, that to what you have used, right? Apart from that, you have agility, the quick, the faster, because of the templates and orchestration layer. What you have will allow to spin a server less than 5 minutes is a kind of agility where you can get. And since it's a combination or interconnected data centers and properly orchestrated and virtualized, I should say the security is high. In the outside world or in the market or in the industry, they say when you switch on to the cloud, you lose security. I say it is a myth, because for a typical organization, you will have one team of security, maybe 5 members or 10 members, but when you get onto the cloud, a huge team of security experts would be working on this, right? And today's topic and today's webinar is largely about that, why, if at all the organizations want to build a private cloud, so I can give another solution. That is what we are going to talk about. And the compliance needs, yes, now we're in the almost 3rd generation of cloud, so it is matured now, and lots of changes are being done, so it's a progressive scaling up, and lots of compatibility issues have been solved from the previous days when compared to. Right. So since we are focusing more on private cloud, and what would be the main driver for any particular organization to build their own private cloud? Generally speaking. So, largely from agility, time to delivery. If any of the business group within the organization wants so many of resources, and if you have a private cloud setup, when I say setup, you have virtualized environment, you have your own data center, you deploy on an OpenStack or a cloud operating system where you can quickly spin up, create templates, create predefined factors so that you can roll out any kind of resources and increase, decrease, right? The kind of services. So all this made organizations to switch over to private cloud from the virtualized stuff. Physical servers, virtual servers, now cloud-based servers or cloud instances, right? So I would like to highlight what Gartner says is it is largely, the private cloud is largely for one organization use so that they have complete control and complete, they can feel that it is completely secure. That's where in the private cloud is also being defined. But if you, what are the few disadvantages in having the in-house private cloud, right? I'm slowly taking this to the today's topic. That's where I'm trying to build the case. If you have your own private cloud in your premise or in the third-party data center, where your workloads are there, is one, you have to have your own IT staff. Number two, you should bother about the maintenance. Number three, you should be using, investing lots of, capex. And above all, the responsibility stays with you, and you have to take care of the data center ownership, where the building managed services, you need to take care of cooling, power, fuel, other related stuff, factors where the temperature stuff or rodent issues, whatnot, everything. And every 5 years, probably a cycle where you need to refresh your hardware, and that's another issue. And you need to buy lots of licenses. You need to buy various tools to monitor this infrastructure, to maintain these databases, all this stuff, right? Above that, you need to spend additional money on this private cloud setup, the cloud software, what I was talking about. If it is an OpenStack, that's fine, where you don't have to bother much about the licensing stuff, but more or less, again, you need to get an expert in that to deploy, design, and do the needful, right? Again, as I'm saying, the point number three is the responsibility of infra is with you, and related support, you need to take care of it. So the focus, at least 30 to 35% of your focus comes over to the IT systems, because they are the enablers of your business, right? So now 65% of the concentration of the business from the IT point of view is there on your business. So in order to make it completely focused on your business, I would suggest the solution, what I'm going to talk. I'm in slide number 9, where I'm largely highlighting that, yes, the corporate can go for a private cloud, but you can always utilize the services from the public cloud. How is it possible, right? There are a couple of cloud service providers, namely IBM SoftLayer, Rackspace, and other third-party CSPs, the cloud service providers, who are making bare metal servers, high-end bare metal servers, available through the orchestration layer. Means you can select the hardware from the cloud console, saying that I want 10 high-end bare metal servers on hourly basis or monthly basis, right? So the first step, what you're doing is you're utilizing cloud. When I say cloud, because it is well interconnected among far-flung data centers in various regions, which are properly virtualized and orchestrated. What I'm already saying, that you have good availability factors. So now your basic starts strong. Number two, you're going for bare metals, where you can either go with a partner saying that, hey, come, I have this bare metal servers, why don't you build a private cloud for me on top of them, right? And thereafter you can easily use it, whereas the responsibility of making it available from the hardware point of view is with the cloud service provider. So you are hitting 2 points here. One is you are not having any capex upfront, Number two, you are pushing the responsibility of maintaining the metals, right? Two things you're done, and you can probably hire like a partner like Techwave, who can help you to build a hypervisor or a cloud stake on those bare metals and provide all the templates. When I say templates, it's more of a service catalog. For example, if you think your organization requires production suite of servers, development and test, so in that case, if your portfolio, your applications are largely from Windows and SQL Server combination with IIS as a web server, or LAMP stack with Linux, Apache, MySQL and PHP kind of stack, in that case, you can simply build a template. When you run that script using the latest automation tools, you will get the server provisioned within 5 minutes. That's the beauty of it. So your agility towards the delivery is solved. Now that is the third point, right? 3 points you have solved here. Number 4, now somebody might ask me, my bare metals are in somebody's data center. How can I, have the control, security, etc. That's where the game starts. I'll tell you a case study. One of the largest power producer, have reached out to us to build a private cloud on the public cloud. So we have given this solution, and the design is like this. I have taken 4 high-end servers, clustered them, and got the hypervisor done on it, deployed the OpenStack. Now, this OpenStack or these servers can be accessible through a firewall, which is dedicated only for these 4 bare metals, and this gateway, it's a combination, it's an appliance having firewall inbuilt, load balancer inbuilt. From this gateway, you can configure the other end of this gateway to your firewall. When I say your firewall, your companies, your organizations, your corporate office or branch office or the delivery center. So you will get a point-to-point tunnel already created. Now, your extended network is this cloud, right? So you don't have to worry about how the data will be transmitted and how we can log on. There might be bandwidth issues, all right. So this tunnel will help you to make a private network for you, which is extended. For example, you have let's say your company's local area network with a proper VLAN has been done, for control. If you give one range, the same range you can extend to this cloud, so that you can have that, your staff can feel that these servers are within their premises, except, you have to be little vigilant about your bandwidth. So that is the connectivity I'm talking about. Now, going back, the figure in slide number 9, where you can see dedicated bare metal servers with a hypervisor and OpenStack installed on top of it, and you can run your hosted stuff. If you want to churn the data, you can use. If there are web apps or mobile apps, you can run on it. One is through the gateways, you can go through the internet have a point-to-point tunnel. Otherwise, if the public users, users who are coming from outside, if they want to connect, they can use SSL VPNs, and SSL VPNs are given for free, when you connect to a public cloud, right? You might say, already cloud service providers like AWS and Azure are providing virtual private cloud. We will call it as VPCs, but technically speaking, backend, when you see the backend of it, it is again a multi-tenant stuff where their cloud is, the servers are shared, and it's a virtualized environment. When it is virtualized environment, you will not know in which tenant you are, because your virtual server keep moving from one container to another container, right? But in this case, if you want your server or your applications, completely dedicated to only you and your network, so this is a better solution. What I feel, I have done about 23 implementations like this, and the results are smooth, and customers are satisfied on this, right? So let's roll on to the next slide, which talks about the benefits, what we already spoke. As a factor, having dedicated hardware means it is increased security. Number two, it will make your users to feel it is an extended LAN. Number three, since you are converting that to a virtual environment, it will give flexibility as a cloud. And since you have a cloud stack on top of it, it's a proper orchestration, so you'll get greater maneuverability on resource management. When I say resource management, so your compute, memory, and storage, right? You can select and segregate and push to the required workloads at the required point in time, right? And above it, no capex. There is no capex. That's where you'll go for pay and use model. Maybe you have to reserve this hardware for a while. And above it, if the hardware is coming to its end of life, it is the responsibility of the cloud service provider to refresh that hardware without any downtime. Whereas in your on-premise cloud, you are responsible to maintain them, to refresh them, and put additional money on that, right? And you can always make a high availability factor by you're clustering it. Between the data centers also you can do it. You can have couple of bare metals in let's say the pod in US and couple of bare metals in the pod in Singapore, and have them clustered, again orchestrated, and you can use a mix and match, and you can go ahead, right? Above all, the summary, what you're going to get, in the interest of time and going a little quick. So resource efficiency, high security, control, flexibility, right? Time to delivery, what I was talking about, and cost, right? So the enterprises, like the BFSI segment, can come front, and they can start using cloud like any other sector, the corporates, and you have the uptime is high. You have the disaster recovery services available. Your backups can be there. Your archival of data happens, and it is faster scalable, and you will have a increased ROI because you are moving from capex to opex model, and you are completely vanishing the huge internal IT teams, especially to maintain and manage these servers and infrastructures, database administration, backup, storage, all this stuff, right? You can straight away focus on your business and business applications and ERP and above, where your focus is required, right? And with that, I think that's where my the solution comes to an end, where I'm ready to take up some questions. Raj?
Thank you, Chandra. Thank you, Chandra. We are now going to begin answering the questions submitted during today's presentation. As a reminder, you can still submit questions to the questions pane in your attendee control panel. Chandra, let me go through these questions. Okay, well, we have our first question is from James McGill, and his question is, we are looking for a public cloud solution, and you mentioned that you have you mentioned that you have an offering on infrastructure. Do you also do that on SAP? I believe, James, is that on SAP HANA Cloud or something like that? I believe that's what the question is about. Do you offer anything about SAP HANA Cloud
Yeah.
infrastructure?
Yes, I think that's a very valid question. Yes, if it is a greenfield deployment, we'll straight away, get on to prepare the proper sizing for HANA kind of environment. And if it is a migrated material, for example, any client having their ERP on premises, maybe little older version, will always help them to migrate to the cloud first, then upgrade to HANA kind of environment where any kind of database they can have, but it will be moved into the in-memory kind of S4 HANA setup. And in Europe itself, we have done about 63 implementations of that sort, right? Where largely migrating the existing ERP portfolio to the cloud, and thereafter some of them have really shifted to S4 HANA because of the as a service model what we are providing. You don't have to bother about your the basic services of SAP basis, etc. You don't have to worry about the infrastructure. You don't have to worry about the licensing part. It's as a service, and you can pay monthly on that usage also.
Yeah. Thank you, Chandra. I have another question coming from Ganesh Subramaniam. He's asking, any case studies or success stories does Techwave have around the implementations like private cloud or public cloud? And if so, what industries do they apply?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a good amount of case studies and success stories on it. The first one we have done is for a major power corporation where they wanted the greenfield deployment on the cloud, and that cloud greenfield deployment ERP onto the cloud, but it should be secured. Then we have taken about 20 bare metal servers. We have created 3 different clusters which should be largely helping them to handle their production, test and development quality environments, where the entire stuff is virtualized and orchestrated accordingly.
Okay.
And a couple of other industries like we have done it for L&T. Yes, I mean for their IT itself. Yeah.
Okay. So I have one question, two questions actually here. But Julie, first question is from Julie. How secure is, if you are offering an infrastructure, how secure is your cloud and where is it located?
Absolutely. That's where is the first answer to that is, you own that hardware, the entire rights, the admin rights, the KVM access, you will be having it, right? And you have the complete control over that server, right? And when you sign up with a cloud service provider, as per the standard 14.01.001, you will have some kind of commitment that these servers are secure is one. You will be given the complete control because they will not have any control other than switching on, switching off stuff, because they upfront they'll say that this is not from the regular cloud model where we'll give instances, but these are bare metals. So the owner for this is you. We will only help in maintaining the power, the cooling factors, the uptime of it, etc., etc. Right?
Okay.
So the control is completely with you, and the connectivity is point to point, and it doesn't charge much to you. And if there are outside users coming into it, it is through SSL VPNs. There is no much bandwidth lag because you can choose the pod. If your users are largely from US, you can choose the pod there, and you can cluster with the other parts, other regions also. Yeah.
Okay. Chandra, I have Gangadhar Nagabandi asking a relevant question related. This is, when the servers are totally dedicated to us, how pay-per-use will work?
Yes. The point is, when the servers are dedicated, I'll tell an example. I'll take a minimum 128 GB RAM with 2 TB of storage or disk space and a good amount of cores, right? In that case, so you are buying only those, right? And if you think you don't want them, you are going to decommission them. You're saying that no, I'm not going to use anymore now. So you're going to pay only that much. Suppose per month it is about, for a typical server like that, it will be $800 per month, right? And you say, look, I'm going to use it for only 15 days, so I'll pay $400. That's it. You don't have to bother much about it, right? So that kind of flexibility you have, right? And tomorrow you'll say, okay, I'm done with this and my testing is done. I want to get on to a production. I want 2 servers now with 256 GB of RAM and equal amount of cores of compute and storage. Then you'll get on to the next one. Again, you'll use it for a while, yes, and if you are done with it, you can go ahead, right? End of the day, you don't have to bother what is the life of it, and since I have installed everything, I'll be losing my licenses, etc., etc. No, nothing like that, right? You are going to use as a service, and that's it. It's an OpEx stuff.
Yeah, hope that answers that. I have one last question from James. He's asking a question on we are going towards cloud and want a provider to do a discovery call. Is that possible with Techwave? Can we do a discovery call, and what kind of consulting you guys provide to just do a discovery without any commitment?
Yeah. I think that's a good question from the business point of view. See, our approach, the approach is not that we'll straight away say that this is a solution, you jump on it, you invest here, there, nothing of that sort. We will do a free consultation initially. We'll do a study. We'll understand what kind of investments you have already done. Number 2, whether your workloads are ready candidates for moving to cloud. Number 3, are moving the workloads to the relevant clouds. We are a cloud broker. We are a cloud aggregator. For example, our job is, suppose you have .NET based applications, I'll always suggest you to push them to Azure kind of cloud, so that we'll help you in deploying that, and you are just bothering about your lines of code and your application, because your .NET framework, your SQL server, your hardware, your virtualized server, everything is taken care, right? Number 2, if you are going for Linux and LAMP stack kind of applications, the relevant cloud would be between Rackspace. You can go with the soft layer, where these kind of solutions can go easily, because CentOS kind of operating systems for free you'll get. You don't have to spend any money on that, and license free. Or you can build a private cloud, what I was saying, OpenStack, you can go ahead. So we'll advise, we'll suggest this, we'll submit a paper to you. If the paper is in line with your KPIs, and if it is going to your objective, only then we'll switch on to the actual work. Yeah.
Yeah. James has one other question. Chandra, what cloud partners do you have? Do you work with any partners that you can name?
Yeah, absolutely. We are tightly coupled with IBM soft layer, and number 2 is Rackspace. Number 3, of course, with AWS, and we are in progress in completing the partnership with Azure, Microsoft. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have. I don't see any other questions than this. Chandra, I think we need to, for the matter of time, can we show them the contact, how to contact us?
Yes. Yeah. That's the slide. You can write to me at chandra.jampa@techwave.net, or I have my LinkedIn ID there. You can anytime buzz me and post your questions, or write to rraj@techwave.net. who is the director for marketing and communications at Techwave, and he can also help us, moderating again your queries there.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chandra. So with that, once you leave today's webinar, we will receive a link to view the recording of our today's webinar with also all our offerings and the partnerships we have and the success stories. We'll send that as a slide deck. And once again, on behalf of Techwave and our presenter Chandra, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Chandra.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Raj, and thanks for all the participants. It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.